Hey fellas, how you doing? It's Johnny. I watched something last night on YouTube and it was so inspiring. I had to make a video on it, totally related to it. And it's really everything what my teaching is about. The video was from a psychologist. This guy's awesome. I really like him. His name is Gabor Mate. I hope I pronounced it right, something like that. Basically what he specialises in is in addiction and childhood abuse or childhood trauma. It was so interesting because obviously I connected with myself on it, going through a childhood trauma, indulging through most of my life in addictions, low self-esteem, insecurity, inability to form deeper relationships with women and people, always struggling with relationships, struggling around the area of self-trust, intimacy at every level, whether it's social intimacy, talking to people, connecting with people, sexual intimacy with women, really struggling with things like erectile dysfunction. So what fascinated me about Gabor Mate and what he was saying was, first of all, I like his approach. I like his approach because his approach is like mine. It's raw, it's honest, it's authentic, and he's speaking from a place of truth. Now, I'm not suggesting that other psychologists are not, but sometimes it just feels like, you know, they've gone to university, they've got qualified, and they're talking from a clipboard, and they've studied the psychology of detachment or attachment theory and the fear of abandonment, but it sometimes feels like there's a personal connection missing from the person that is passing the information across. So Gabor Mate, like myself, is a great teacher because he suffered himself with addictions. He struggled himself with all of these fears. He's had to work through them, like myself. And I always find the best teachers and the best people that heal people are people that have gone through these traumas and insecurities themselves and then healed themselves, or at least been in the process of healing themselves and then helping others. And that's really, well, that's what I did. Another thing that we talked about loads of things, and then just trying to think off the top of my head. One of the things he spoke about that I really liked, he spoke about addiction, and he really went into the deeper meaning of what is addiction, because most of us, when we think of addiction, and I've been guilty of this in the past myself, we think, well, sometimes we look down on people. We have to be honest. We think, oh, he's an addict, oh, he's dirty, he's not part of society, he's a drug addict, he's a crackhead, he's a heroin addict. You know, we kind of separate ourselves and see these lower class people are no good, and I've done that myself. But having actually been on the other end of addiction, you start realizing that addiction is addiction. There's just different extremes of addiction. So Gabor Mate said the true meaning of addiction is anything that you do to escape your pain that gives you relief. So it could be anything. Now obviously we could go from one extreme to another. So excuse me, because I'm just trying to think what he said. So he basically said, he talked about one of his addictions. He basically said that his addiction was work, it was helping other people, and I totally relate to that. And he's not saying that necessarily that is fully a bad thing, but he was saying at one stage he had an addiction to buying classical music. So although, you know, it's not harmful to listen to classical music, you would think of that as completely normal. You would say, well, listening to classical music as opposed to taking heroin or smoking crack or, you know, whatever, sleeping with prostitutes, paying for sex, that is like different extremes than they are. But if you actually look at it from a pure standpoint of addiction, it's still addiction. Because if you're doing anything to escape the present moment and yourself and what you're dealing with, that is an addiction. And the very act of addiction, the very practice, is harmful. And he also quoted from some very powerful spiritual people, I can't remember the names, and he said, one of the masters says, the worst way, something like the quickest way to get to hell is trying to escape from hell. So what it was saying was, when we try and escape our pain gets worse. Now, this connected me on an even deeper level, because then he talked about authenticity. He said that when we grow up, if we've been abused by our parent, if we've been sexually abused, if we've been verbally abused, we've been physically abused, say like our dad's bullied us, or our mum, or anyone, you know, in our circle of trust. If someone has done that to you, it affects you, and then as a coping strategy, this is when we start developing protective mechanisms, protective personalities, which was something that Freud really emphasized. We protect ourselves. I've seen it myself. I've definitely seen it myself. There's like different personalities. He talked about the people pleaser. We become overly nice, and he said, and it's good what he said, because he said it's very good to be a nice person, and you can see how genuine he is. But he said, when we're being nice at the cost, we're being nice at the sake of people not harming us because we're afraid and we're people pleasing, that's not good for us. So what we're doing is we're putting ourselves secondary to other people and putting them first. And it just connected with me on such a deep level. I had to do this video, and he's such a brave man. And then he spoke about spirituality, and I thought, wow, fucking hell, I'm not the only one speaking this language. I'm not the only one who is applying, sort of modern day psychology, or, psychology of the past, and applying a spiritual touch to it. And I could actually physically see from watching him and hear, he was speaking from direct experience. He wasn't speaking from a psychology book, although obviously he's well read. He's speaking from what he's been through, and this is what I'm speaking from. That's why when people say to me, what do you do? What's your job? I say, well, I used to be a dating coach, and now I work as a life coach, but I specialise helping people with trauma and social anxiety and social confidence, and helping them build their relationships. Where did you go study for that? On the fucking council estate. Where else? In my house, growing up as a kid. I was in it, I experienced it. It takes one to know one. The best qualification is life experience. Okay, I may not, this is a bit of my own insecurity, I may not speak as, intellectually as someone who has graduated, but I've got experience, and that counts for, that's the most important thing. I've got direct experience, so I understand what it feels like when people don't trust anyone because they've been abused when they're younger, and they struggle, and that causes depression, that causes addictions. It's all linked, it all connects, it makes sense. All of it. And what I like about, just get comfortable, what I like about Gabor Mate is that he's got a way of delivering his message where you don't feel judged. It doesn't make you feel that you're inadequate. Because I had it myself. Maybe it's my own insecurities back then, but I'd go looking for help and feel like the people were speaking down to me and being disrespectful. That made me not trust them more. So that's why I like to think, that's personally what I like about myself, that I deliver the message, and it comes from a genuine place. It comes from a place of genuinely wanting to help people, because I've been through it myself. I've been on the other end of it. I've been an addict for years. I wasn't a heroin addict, I wasn't a crack addict, but I was addicted. I was addicted to letting people bully me. I was addicted to violence. I was addicted to paying for sex prostitutes. I was addicted to harming myself with negative thoughts, alcohol. In the past, cocaine. I used to take cocaine. I didn't do it all the time, but I did it. And I can't rationalise it and get away from it. I did that in the past as a coping strategy. I didn't know how to deal with my pain. I couldn't cope with it. I couldn't deal with the fact that my dad damaged me growing up. I was deeply ashamed. I didn't want anyone to know about it. It made me feel disgusting. I thought if I share this with someone, they're not going to want to be friends with me. That's actually what was going through my mind. How can I tell anyone this? And I also felt like I'd be betraying my dad. And again, Gabor Mate talks about all these psychological consequence of all these psychological fears that abuse develops. So abuse itself is painful, but it's not as bad as after abuse, because addiction is abuse. You're abusing yourself. You abuse yourself because you feel you're not good enough, that no one would love you, and then you feel you don't even feel you've got the tools to love someone else, and that's why you develop social anxiety. So social anxiety is not actually the problem itself, or struggling with women, it's tracing it right back, childhood trauma. Now, the exciting thing is, so we can all feel one and connected, we all have some trauma. No one escapes it. Some of us have it more than others, so some of us have got a huge trauma, but none of us escape it. But the solution is, my legs are tightening up. What I like about his work is, he's got a process like I've got. He's got a process, and it's identical to what I teach. I just had to cut there for a second, guys. I think that was a sign. I thought I was going to get killed by those dogs. I always believe in signs. Every time I do videos that have got powerful messages, things try and stop me. I just was saying, this is the solution, and then dogs came. I was quite scared, but I held it together there. We'll leave that in, it's funny. So yeah, as I was saying, Gabor Mate, it was weird because watching the documentary, it was just really, it was weird. It was that thing where I'm seeing someone else say exactly what I've learned, what I know, and what I've been helping other people to teach. And I don't mean that in an egotistical way. He's at a much higher level than me. Obviously, he's been doing this for years. He's a trained psychologist, but to some degree, I'm an expert in this area myself because I've lived with trauma and I experienced it. So the solution is a process. And that's another thing that he spoke about, what I've said. In our culture, we always want a quick fix. We think that, you know, through deep childhood pain or trauma, we're just going to go onto the internet and we're going to buy a book, read a book, and we're going to be cured. And that's not the reality. And that's why I work with people at minimum time 6 weeks to give people a foundation, to take them through a process, to take them through the steps of healing and working through their childhood trauma. And that obviously affects people with their social anxiety. It helps them to become more comfortable around socialising with people and primarily building a relationship with yourself. And the thing that he said that I love, he actually used the word the authentic self. He said he went beyond intellect, and that's what I like about this man. He's well studied, he's well read, and he's got the practical experience. Now when it comes to reading a lot about psychology, I can honestly say I haven't read that much, but I think my ignorance in regards to reading information about psychology and understanding abandonment issues and attachment and abuse and trauma and addictions, because I had so much personal experience with it and I had to go inside and medicate myself, and that's really what I said the solution is about. And that's really what he does, that's what I do for people as a teacher. You're helping people and supporting them. It's ultimately support. Support is bar none the best form of teaching. If you look at around in history, look at different approaches and teachings, every guru, you know, whether you're looking at someone, Jesus, it doesn't really matter. Everyone is, you know, they're helping you to help yourself. And that's really the first step to overcoming trauma. You have to decide that you want to help yourself. And I made a decision years ago that enough was enough, that I was not going to let my dad bully me anymore. And it wasn't just in person, it was letting bully me in my mind, because the story was continuing to affect me and hurt me, and it was causing lots of fear. I was seeing it everywhere I went. It was affecting me, so I had to stop working on it, you know, and on every level. Practically, I had to go and speak to my dad and you know, and cut that demon or that curse that was manifested out of the abuse that he put on me. I also had to forgive myself, because when you get abused, and it's very common in psychology, I know from my experience, you tend to pass that abuse on. And it's not comfortable saying it, but because my dad bullied me and other people bullied me at school around my area, I bullied people as well. I never like to think that I went out and bullied someone for no reason who was innocent. I had too much compassion for that, but I certainly overreacted in situations where I could have just spoke about it, laid my personal boundaries down and handled it without violence, but I didn't know at the time. And ignorance is bliss. So this is kind of the first step, and this is what I do on my 6 weeks program. And people do that anyway. As soon as people get in touch with me, they've made that first step into healing, towards healing themselves and saying I want to get help, and I'm there to do that. The second step, I believe, and this is just kind of in a, you know, without being too concrete in the order, the second step is I would say honesty. The first step is saying I want the help. You have to be honest, because if you don't treat childhood trauma and you don't actually come from a place of integrity and honesty, it doesn't get worse. It doesn't get better. It gets worse. And that's why I seen for myself in the pickup community, the solution wasn't the solution. It was affecting people. I had to stop teaching it myself because I actually applied it on myself again. So I was unconsciously going out at that time. Even before I started to teach men how to pick women up, I was going out and I was unconsciously trying to fix my pain from childhood trauma, which projected from my dad, from school, from my upbringing, all the things that we go through that make us feel ashamed, that make us feel embarrassed, that make us question ourselves. Can we be loved? Can we love other people? Being afraid of being rejected, coping strategies, a people pleaser, on the extreme side, being very violent, very aggressive. When people try and come in, we push them away. We want connection, but we're not sure. So we get into a relationship with a woman, and we're afraid that we're not going to meet a woman. Then we finally develop ourselves, so we take steps. We attract a woman into our life. When she starts telling us she loves us, we don't want it. We push her away, and then we reject her. But what we're doing is we're rejecting ourselves. We're protecting ourselves from abandonment, and that's what I've seen in the pickup community. It's just a defensive mechanism. It's a coping strategy to protect people from their own childhood trauma and fears of being abandoned. And when I had the courage to admit that after years of going out, sleeping with different women, and basically allowing people to abuse me, because when we don't have personal boundaries, that's what we do. We don't even realise that we're letting people abuse us, but the abuse starts with ourselves. So I'm just kind of taking you through the process, and I'm talking about, my addiction with sex with women. So my addiction with sex with women came from a place that I'm not good enough, I'm terrified of being abandoned, I can't fully trust anyone because I didn't trust my own dad because of how he treated me, and that was unconsciously in all my relationships with everyone. And I was horrified when I found that out, and I was horrified to actually find it out back at the time, and I was even teaching people how to meet women, but I wasn't aware of this on a conscious level. This was deep rooted. But as I started to develop more, and as I stayed in my addiction for a long time, and I got a lot of pleasure out of that, and that's what Gabor Mate talks about. He says that we do get pleasure out of our addictions. It is a place of grace, but only for a short time. So he said that there was a woman who described her first hit of heroin. She said it felt like a mother giving her a hug of love. So, but then after you feel like shit, you feel dirty, and that's exactly how I felt every time I slept with women, and it wasn't from a proper relationship. I didn't feel good. It didn't matter that I got the result. It didn't matter that the woman wanted to keep seeing me. I still had those feelings of neglect, abandonment, confusion, pain, anger, self-hate, fear, tremendous amounts of fear, and just not understanding. And now it all makes sense. I was able to get clarity. But as I said, the theoretical side came later because I read about it. I got help myself. I got help from a really good mentor, from Jeff. And then once I fixed my trauma, once I got to a stage where I could physically feel I'm healed, my anxiety massively reduced. So all my social anxiety, lots of my phobias around going into certain situations that used to make me feel afraid, that used to bring up stuff in me, I'd get these almost like it felt like someone else is in my body resisting. So as I said in a poem I did, it would be very difficult to make eye contact with people. I would feel intimidated. It would feel intrusive. It would feel exposed. It was such an uncomfortable feeling, and it all made sense to me. And it all goes back to trauma, childhood trauma. So, although at the start for most of us who've been abused, it can feel we don't want to look at it, and I didn't want to look at it, and we think if we look at it, we're going to be, I personally felt like I wasn't going to be a man. I thought that was going to be soft, people would take the piss out of me, I'll be judged. But you get to a stage in your life where the pain is so much, you get close to suicide. And again, Gabor Mate talked about why people commit suicide. People commit suicide because they're in pain. Like living and breathing is too painful. Now, fortunate enough for me, as much as I had a difficult childhood upbringing, I had a very good childhood as well. I had a lot of love from my mum. Although my dad was tough on me, I have to be fair to him and say he was very kind as well. But to some extent that made it more confusing. Some people have grown up all their life, they've not had any love, and I really feel for them. They've had both parents not showing any affection. They've had no affection at all. So that's why people jump off bridge, they jump on the train tracks, they hang themselves. And I think again, this is something that in our culture that we really have to take a lot more serious, because there's a lot of us that don't want to get our hands dirty. And that's something that I've seen in the dating industry. A lot of teachers, they didn't want to, and I understand it. I'm not judging them, but I'm just being straight. They don't want to get their hands dirty there, so they're teaching something that is a very base level for a problem that is very deep rooted and it's very serious, and if you don't address it, it will follow you your whole life. So you cannot escape childhood pain. You know, and there's so many great teachers who have said childhood pain is a gift. Now, I'm going to speak from myself, from going through this nightmare, this hell. It was a gift, but it was painful, but it is a gift. It's transformed my life. It's made me the man I am. It's made me connect with my authentic self. It's made me go into all the areas that I was hiding from. I was hiding from public speaking, I did it. I was hiding from doing the job that I love, I'm doing it. I was hiding from stopping people bullying me, I did it. I stopped everyone bullying me. I was hiding from multiple personalities, me being a bully myself. I stopped being a bully, I did it. I was hiding from the inability to feel that I deserved to make money, because I associated money as being something that I did not deserve, and it was all attached to abandonment, even money. I had to make money to disprove that. I had to go out and to do what I loved with a passion and to help people, because in the past I felt I'm not good enough to offer help to someone because I'm no good. I'm just a worthless piece of shit. That's exactly how I felt, and I did that. I had to disprove that. I had to prove that I could refrain from my addictions, and I did that. I had to stop paying prostitutes for sex many years ago, which I did. I had to stop drinking alcohol because for me that was an addiction, I did. I had to stop ruining all my relationships with people because I was afraid that they would hurt me and cut me off, and I did that. It took a lot of courage, but luckily I've always had a lot of courage. But some people don't have that courage. They feel that they can't go nowhere, but you can get help. And the process, what I've said, my final solution is honesty. So ineffectively, I don't teach people a method because I don't need to do that. They've got the answer, they've got the method inside them, but I offer them the support, my experience, my honesty. So as I said, I don't teach people a method. I've been teaching people now I've been in the area of personal development, dating, confidence, relationships for 4 years. And I came to the solution 2 years ago. I don't have a method. That was the method. Everyone is an individual case. I act more as a counsellor, a psychologist, a friend, support. The solution is in the individual, but the individual has to be ready to make the transformation. And my work is all about helping people to identify their authentic self and allowing them to go at a pace that they want to go. So some people I work with, they'll be ready to go through this process faster because they've got a stronger psychology or they can cope better. Some people are more delicate. I was very delicate myself. I had to spend years doing this. It's taken me really 10 years to share this story, to this present moment today, to say all this, because I never had the courage. I had to fix myself before I could go and start teaching people this, and I made all the mistakes. So I'm not judging you. You can watch my video and you can feel inspired, empowered, loved and understood, because that's the truth of my work. So I know how it feels. So the whole victim mentality, I feel as a teacher, it's okay to go through that. I know there's going to be lots of different other thoughts of training that are going to say, oh come on, just be a man. Well no, sometimes being a man don't work. I tried being a man for years and I battered people, I was violent, I was aggressive, I was scared because I thought that's being a man. That was my coping mechanism. It didn't help. Sometimes being a man means, I was about to say being a woman then, but that wouldn't make sense. Sometimes being a man means surrendering and being vulnerable. Only when we surrender and we're vulnerable can we fix ourselves and then rebuild and become a man. Because if you think being a man is walking around carrying trauma, hating and blaming the world, that's not being a man, is it? That's actually being scared. But that's alright as well, because that's the phase people go through. So it's a very beautiful process, a very painful one, but it's very necessary. And I like the fact that Gabor Mate was honest about it. He wasn't promising that his method is pain-free. My method that I teach is painful. The best methods are painful, but the pain is worth it because eventually you'll have the relief. And it's an honest source of relief. It's not addictions. And I'm going to do something a bit spiritual now. I'm going to show you something. And I was inspired by Muji. He's a very good spiritual teacher. Again, it's someone that I've inspired to go back in. I'll show you something. I'll show you something now. I'm just gonna try and. I'm trying to explain a spiritual feeling. So let me just show you. This is how I'm fixed, and this is how you know you're fixed. So stop. Be present. Now when you do that, right, when you stop and be present and allow everything to come in, if you're carrying childhood trauma or any pain, if you stay long enough, it might take a few minutes, you will feel things come up. And what usually happens is, what used to happen to me, we sit there, we have a thought, we think about, oh, that person abused me that time, or they shouted at me, and that thought becomes an emotion, and it hurts us. A story manifests, and we can't deal with it. We escape, can't handle it, can't do the pain. Right, I need to get on the internet. We get the laptop out, or I can't cope. Fuck it, I need to have a drink. Sorry, my language is passionate. I'm half Irish. Or I need to go out and pull women. I've got to go out and do pickup artistry because I can't cope with this. But the true teaching, yes, in the essence of my teaching, which is, I don't even like saying my teaching because it's not my teaching, it's everyone's teaching, but the good teachers, the spiritual teachers, or good counsellors, good psychotherapists, is to be present with your pain. Stay in the pain, feel the pain, give yourself permission to feel the pain. Now the exciting thing for me is, my pain's gone. That doesn't mean that sometimes I don't get a shadow, I don't get a visit, because I do. And I think that could be a lifelong thing, and that's okay. But the main bulk of it's gone. That's why I'm an honest man. That's why I live with integrity. Now, when I was in my addictions, my authentic true self was an honest man, but I was afraid. So when I say on the YouTube, when I say to people, you're a dishonest man, I don't mean that in a way to be judgmental. I don't mean it like, I'm honest, I'm better than you, you're dishonest, I'm a teacher. I don't mean that. What I mean is, you're actually not a dishonest man, but you're practicing being dishonest because you're afraid. And I'm trying to help you to straighten out and align yourself to being honest, because this was my truth going out. So I don't regret what I went through. I don't regret it because I learned from it. So the pickup artistry was wrong for me. It was not the truth, it was dishonest, it was harming me, but it helped me because it was an addiction. The pickup artistry stuff was no different to going paying for sex with prostitutes. No different at all. It didn't matter that maybe it was slightly more moral because, okay, I was going up to women and they were agreeing to have sex with me, but it didn't matter. Most of them didn't even know about my childhood pain. I only told a few of my, the latter ones that I formed more closer relationships, and they were relationships when I actually was honest. And guess what? 2 of those relationships are still ongoing today. I don't mean ongoing sexually, but we're friends. So I know that my teaching works. I've got proof for myself. I don't need to read it. I don't need to question it or consider it. I know it works. But when we say, does something work? Pickup artistry works. It works for me to go now to the cash machine, withdraw money and go and get hookers. I know where to find them. It doesn't make it right. It works that every time someone upsets me, I give them a right hand. But that's not right, is it? I tried that for years. It's just going to get you locked up in prison, and it ruins you, it damages you. So we have to find an integral solution. And that's how we get our power. That's how we get our true self-esteem. It takes a lot of, believe me from the heart. There is nothing un-alpha about it. I've had to use every single bit of masculine strength to go in this route. And I said before, I call it the God route, or the love route. Let's call it love, universal love, personal connection. And I love that. I totally resonate with what he said when he said, when we're communicating with people in life and we don't follow our authentic self, that feeling, that inner guide, we get feelings of self-betrayal. And self-betrayal is the worst betrayal of all, because if I betray me, I betray all of you. Because when I didn't trust myself, I projected that onto everywhere in my life, my relationships. That's why growing up as a kid, you know, I found it very difficult to trust people. And I had a right to feel that way, and you have a right to feel that way. So a great thing that my mentor said to me, Jeff, and I like what he said, you don't need to trust me, Johnny. You don't need to trust anyone, your family, your friends, you just need to trust you. That's completely true, that's been true for me. And that's what I say to my students. I say, you don't need to trust me, because I trust me. You need to learn to trust you. I'm going to help you so you can trust you. Then you can do away with me. You can kick me out. You can watch my videos. You can get the help you need, fix yourself, and never watch my videos again. I'll be happy just if I can help you to change your life, because I know how it feels. That will selfishly make me feel good. Man search for meaning, because that's my purpose. It took me many years to have the confidence to do this. Even when I was teaching pickup, there was a part of me going, I want to give more to people, and I knew that people were coming to me for something deeper, but I wasn't in a place myself, so I couldn't be a hypocrite. I couldn't be teaching people about love, honesty, and fixing their pain when I hadn't addressed mine. But I had good intentions. I had good intentions even when I was dishonest. But I had to come away from it. And guess what? Doesn't matter what we say. If someone says, you know, this person, that person, it's always back to yourself. The best teacher is you. And that's why I like a lot of these teachers, because the ones I like, they always project something to me that I can work on and fix. So I just thought it would be really good to share this with you guys, and in a way to be inspirational. I know I'm inspirational already. I know my work's inspirational, but it's a way to inspire you and to make you feel you're not on your own, it's okay. You're not less of a person. All of us carry some pain, but the ones who look at it, we go on to do amazing things. That's why you see all these celebrities doing amazing films and massive things, because most of them are creating from pain. We just see a lavish lifestyle and we think, oh, he's a millionaire, he's making films. But most of these films have been inspired from pain, from trauma. That is inspiring, that is empowering. That we don't have to become victims because we've been abused, sexually abused, physically abused, neglected, abandoned. We can find that self-love in us. But we will not access that self-love through dishonesty, because I've tried it for years, it didn't work, and I've been around loads of people, I've taught people, and I've seen the power of what I teach. I've seen the power of what my mentor taught me. I've seen the power of other good teachers. And what I love about this process, it's not perfect. My teaching's not perfect, I'm not perfect, we don't need to be perfect, but it works. It is a process, it's gradual. So you can start healing right from today. Just in saying, deciding. Powerful purpose, what Frankl says. A decision. The people that commit suicide, and it's very sad, and I feel awful for them, they've made a choice in life that they can't cope no more. Who's to say they're right or wrong? I don't feel I want to step in and say that, because it's easy to point out and judge. We all do that. I do it. We all do it, don't we? We point and say, look at this person, he's suffering. But we sometimes fail to look at our own suffering. And that's why after my awakening and I healed myself, I had a huge compassion for people. But at the same time, I really got strict. And that's what you guys need to do. You need to start having personal boundaries. You need to say no. You need to be firm. When someone is asking you something or inviting you and you don't want to do it, you say no. You don't have to lose your temper. I'm just stressing. There's a message in what I say. No. It's got to be congruent. No. It's got to be sharp. It's got to be from the authentic self. It's not got to be quivering and scared. No. So when I say no, what am I saying no to? No to addiction. No to letting people abuse you. Then when the right people come in, when the right circumstances, and it's in alignment with how we feel, yes please. Come on in. What am I saying to? Welcome in love. Bring in love in. Relationships of a woman. So I understand now why years ago when women would say to me, what's wrong with you? Why are you behaving like this? When they were trying to get close to me, because I didn't want it. I weren't sure. Pain. So, regardless of the sex, man or woman, this is going to help both sexes. Abuse is abuse, is person. So next time, I'm going to leave you with this message because it was powerful for me. Next time you're walking down the street, and I've done it myself, we've all done it, and you're in high and mighty having a great day, and it's nice to have a good day, and life's going well, and you see homeless people all lying down on the floor, all depressed and sad and looking bad, you're going to think twice. You're not going to say, I look at this person, I'm better. Because there's always someone more confident than us. Someone who's more confident can sometimes make you feel homeless. So you think he's going to start changing how you treat people. And this is ultimate power. Love is ultimate power. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It was inspired by myself and Gabor Mate. I'm going to leave a link to this man. But yeah, this is my personal experience. And I was inspired by Gabor Mate to make this video, but mainly from myself. So, you know, enjoy the process and battle against addictions. Say no to addiction and say yes to loving yourself. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.